Oh my gosh, that's a great. You know what? Yes, so many of them.
I imagine that every person and creator in Pixar animation studios is always asking big questions like Forky. And the main dilemma, is what would happen if something could feel, a toy, an ant, a monster that felt passionate about his work, a robot falling in love, and now a soul discovering what makes us human. So there is no simple answer to any of those questions, but in Pixar and you create a whole story to explain it. So how you find out or discover the right story and the right character to explain these dilemmas?
Wow, that's a big question. It usually starts with something very selfish on my part, like what would I love to animate? I'm an animator. What would I love to bring to life and see? So something like monsters. Yeah, okay, that's cool. Souls, I was really intrigued by because I don't know what they look like, but they seem very ethereal and they could shape change and be very different looking from anything we've done. So that was exciting. And then that started to ask bigger questions sometimes when you approach these subjects, they come attached with some deeper story themes. And certainly soul, it begs the question like, what are you doing with your life? What's this all about? What's going on in the world? And so that's really what this film is, me trying to figure out what's going on around here. What am I trying to do? What am I meant to do with the limited time that we have?
It's such a long, organic process, but I would say if I had to boil it down, I would say the one thing we're pretty good at, we've remained strong at, is even with all of our experience in all the films, we've somehow managed to stay grounded in just the fact that we love movies and we love going to movies and we love seeing things and experiencing things. And so I feel like we do a pretty decent job of turning off our analytic and filmmaking minds and just can react to things as an audience. Forky is a decent example of that. When Forky came up in the story room, we just started laughing. And we were literally joking about whether we thought it was the worst idea we ever had or the best, but we kept laughing. And after a while, we realized it's entertaining us. So if it's entertaining us, it's a good chance it's going to entertain the audience. And it was a good example of like, we just use ourselves as the metric. We're not always right, but we're a pretty decent first audience. And even as a producer, I feel like one of my jobs and the jobs of all the producers at Pixar is to keep a little bit of objectivity so that you can come back into the room and hear the pitch and look at what's going on and react to it. And I say our job is to be the movie's first audience. And so I think we've just built a sense of trust on that. And, if it makes us laugh or if it makes us feel or cry, we put it in the movie.
Once you said that you are not trying with the animation process to make it look real, but you are trying to make things feel believable. So you take elements from real life to create a story, like Mr. Fredrickson looked like the doctor's grandpa, but nothing compares to the emotions that you evoke in the audience. And that is the secret in Pixar. You always present a very emotional situation, like when Sully says goodbye to Boo in Monsters Inc. or the ping pong scene in Inside Out.
Yeah.
But I have a question. Some of these situations are real. How you write and animate that scenes from every Pixar movie that are so emotional?
Oh, it's such a great question. And yeah, let me just try to walk through that because how people define things that look real in motion pictures and in like visual effects, it's always funny. I always thought it was funny that people think when things look real that it's good. Like I even remember my dad like, wow, that looks real, seeing something in a movie. And it's really interesting when the audience clearly knows it's not. Like there's no question when you see a hand-drawn movie, when you see Cinderella, she's not real, right? It's a drawing academically, and yet the audience through storytelling will dismiss that notion and just adhere to the character. The Muppets are a good example in my mind. Like it's literally a puppet. You can see it's a puppet, they don't blink. And yet you can emote and tell stories. And I guess we've just fallen in love with the fact that you could push something so far and still generate emotion. And, I love it when, you're looking at Bing Bong is a good example, I think, because we literally by design made him the most ridiculous looking thing in the world. He's pink, he's made of candy, and all that. And yet it's one of the saddest moments in the film. I think the answer to your question is we just spend a lot of time thinking about taking a movie or a subject that on the surface looks like a lot of fun and has entertainment value for families, because that's what we love. We pride ourselves that we make family films, and that in a way, the audience comes to those films with a little distance, like, oh, it's for kids, people might say. And so it actually gives us a delta to surprise them. If you think about show business from the beginning, it's all about, the old saying, you ain't seen nothing yet. It's all about surprising the audience. So when you could take a character like Bing Bong, or Carl Fredricksen, make them look fun, or Woody, and it on the surface looks one way, but beneath the surface means something else, I just feel like that's rewarding to the audience. That's what I like to see. I grew up on movies like E.T. and that are for families, really fun, about an adventure, but then you peel it back. It's about a family. It's about a broken family, and it's revealed through this storytelling. I mean, we were talking about Toy Story a lot, this idea that Toy Story to my kids, it's a movie about an adventure, toys that get lost, and the premise that they're alive when you're not looking, and it's funny, and there's action. But beneath, if you strip all that away, it's about a person that doesn't want to be replaced. Right? Yeah. That is its core. That is what it's about. And everybody, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're in the third grade and you hope your friends, invite you to lunch, or if you're an executive and you don't want to lose your job. You know what I mean? Like, everyone has that fear somewhere. And so I think we try to not overthink it, but drill down into human, relatable emotions and then dramatize it in a fun way.
Yeah, and that is very interesting because the animations, once you said, it's not a genre, and right. It's not something exclusively for kids. And Pixar is the best example on how an animated movie that can be funny and can be fantastic elements, and sad is very human, but it takes a little message for an adult, because when you're a kid, you have fun with this movie and maybe you can learn something about friendship or authenticity. But as an adult, an animated film and the entire Pixar catalog, or the Spark shorts, for example, help you to deal with real life. So it's an amazing job what you do in Pixar, because you help us to deal with real life.
So nice of you. Thank you. We're very proud of the films. And, we don't set off to try to tell messages. We just want to say something that's meaningful to us. And we're so honored when we hear things like that it goes beyond that. So thank you for saying that.
And I'm very excited for this movie, and there are a lot of things to talk about this film. But I would like to know, what about the decision to choose Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross to score this movie? Because the first thing that comes to my mind, obviously, is Nine Inch Nails and David Fincher movie, not a Pixar movie. But Reznor said the other day that they were a risky choice for this movie, but it's also a risky choice for you as a director. So what about this collaboration?
It was risky, but that's part of, I think, what's great when you can stretch yourself a little bit. Like, as soon as I feel like if we fall into a rhythm or a rut, it's great to kind of shake that off and say, okay, how can we shake things up? How can we do something a little different, not only surprise our audience, but make us have to work in a little bit of a different way? Because I think that's what causes your brain to kind of stretch a little bit further. I just really respond to the incredible creative thinking that Trent and Atticus do. Their work is always really stunning and evocative. And I think you'll, in the film, it's so exciting because it becomes part of the tapestry of the soundtrack it's beyond just music. It becomes kind of environmental, and you feel like you're living in this space. And that's exactly the kind of feel that we wanted to have in the Soul world.
And as part of the audience, it's different how I experience a film in a movie theater than in my house, in my living. And I would like to know that, considering what is happening in the film industry in general, it is different, the creation process, because of this audience experience. You know, the cinematic decisions that you have to make. Now it's different considering the streaming services and all these changes.
Yeah, and I do worry about that because I, like you, I love being in a theater, and I love watching things together. I think there is something important about experiencing films and sporting events as in a group, or whatever it is. But it's funny, I think about streaming. Listen, I'm so grateful for Disney Plus, because with that's just the world we're in right now. You know, we can't go to movie theaters or sporting events. And so I worry about that. And yet I think about streaming and the future and how great this is that we get to have access to all this content. And I look at my kids, and my daughter, who's a freshman in high school, she doesn't worry about it at all. In fact, she uses, they're watching stuff on Disney Plus and texting each other. And like, in a weird way, like the younger generation has passed me, like they're simulating the idea of being in a theater together in their own way. And I feel like Carl Fredrickson and up, like, how does this work? But the audience of today and tomorrow, which I think really is embracing streaming, is almost like figured it out. They figured out how to simulate that feeling. That's not to say, I hope it, I certainly want to be back in theaters, and I want people to see these movies on the screen. But I'm so grateful that this, with all the things we're going through, that Disney Plus and the streaming shift that the company's making has aligned with having access to our films, that we're just happy with that part of it.
And Jonas, I had the chance to talk with Pete Docter a couple of days ago, and I told him that I imagine that every creator, animator, producer in Pixar, all of you are like Porky, because you are always asking big questions. And also you are like Flick from A Bug's Life, because you are always trying to do something new and creating and being innovative, and that's great. So did you feel related to a specific character from the Pixar universe?
Oh my gosh, that's a great, you know what? Yes, so many of them. I feel like the character I relate, but that is awesome. I'm sure Pete loved that too, because Pete is I just love Pete so much. And Pete's great as a partner really quickly, because I was his, producer for years, and I still, I work day to day with him. The thing that's great about Pete as a creative leader is Pete sends the message to the crew that he needs help finding his movie, as opposed to I need help making it. Do you know what I mean? So he just approaches everything with curiosity and a sense of exploration, which I think gets the best out of people. In that way, I think you're right. He is sort of a questioning, Forky-esque, Flick-esque. My character that I've related to the most is Joy. Inside Out means a lot to me. And what I love about Joy is that she's optimistic to a fault, and that she's excited about the future, but yearns for the past. She's a nostalgist. And that's me. I've always had this tug of war of like, I love these things of the past, but I can't wait to what we do next. I think that's a bit of a metaphor for Pixar as well. Like, on one hand, we're very old school and old fashioned. On the other hand, like, we have this cutting edge technology sense of being explorers. And so Joy to me represents that. And that's who I
had the chance to see the Spark Shorts program. It proposes a real conversation about certain things that really matters: inclusion, diversity, representation. But the most important thing for me with this program is the fact that these short films, they don't tell me, and they don't tell kids, we need to support gay marriage, or we must accept children deemed different. It's only about love and care for real people, as you once said in an amazing TED Talk.
Yeah, that's why we love it. And that's why we love those films so much. And the thing I love about the Spark Shorts, and Out specifically is one of my favorites, and one of the newer ones, is that we just wanted, like, we always say that in a way we just want to get the filmmakers to the screen. So when you see Inside Out, you're kind of seeing Pete. When you see Soul, you're seeing Pete. And, when you see Wally, you're seeing Andrew Stanton and so forth. And so we thought with these Spark Shorts, there's a whole generation of filmmakers, storytellers, and directors that we would love to see on the screen. And so we've just kind of told them, tell your story, make it fun, make it entertaining, and go and and they're expressions of these filmmakers who we love. So they're sort of collectively, you're looking at Pixar. We know they're a little, maybe they're a little risky, or maybe they're not things that would be in some of the features. Maybe they are, I don't even know. There's kind of no rules. And I think that's why I love it. I'm really proud of the fact that the studio's gotten behind that. I'm proud of Disney Plus for showcasing them, because I think they're all beautiful. And art is just the reflection of the people that make it. And I love all these people, and I'm just really glad that they're showing up there.
Okay, so that's all, Pete. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Nice to talk with you.
Thank you very much, Jonas. This was
thank you. I could talk to you all day. I love this. I really appreciate it.